And so I think also want to talk about protection and retention of team members. And so it's absolutely a risk that a team member comes in, learns everything you do, you level them up, you polish them up, you present them as an expert, and then they use their skill set to compete against you. And this happens a lot. And so the third thing that should really be on here, and this is lessons learned from Drake, is so I think there is, NDAs and non-competes, I think for if you're really going to open the floodgate of investment into somebody are fair. And just making it clear from day one, like, look, I'm not introducing you to all my clients and teaching you everything I know if you're going to turn around and compete against me. And so I think it's not good enough just to have that be said and agreed on. And like we found, I think the solution to a lot of the horse world's problems is to move away from just handshake agreements and to have actual agreements around important things. And then if you do have a really good team member, I think you should fight to retain them. And that's where you've got competitive compensation. You give them commissions, I think, on when a new client, if they give a great intro lesson and that client is like, yeah, I'm signing up, like, nice to give them a commission there. If they upgrade, like you said, like having a really good role model, and the barns that do have more advanced riding in it, they do get more upgrades. The barns that only do beginner lessons, it is harder to get them to go to twice a week when they don't really have that role model that rides. Like, every now and then you see somebody and you're like, that looks cool. It's not that cool. Like, riding is one of those sports where it's not that cool. It takes a long time. It's like skiing, or tennis. Like, the first few years, like, look nothing like the fantasy of what you really can't, want. You're like, a lot of people are like, yeah, I don't want a lesson. I just want to borrow your horse and just go gallop all around your property and go jump stuff, You'll get those calls. And I'm like, I hear you. I'd love to do that too. But you're obviously like, yeah, I'm not giving you my horse. I never met you. And they're like, how about I give you $50 and just take your horse and just go play, And that's what most people like. I relate to that, like, and unfortunately, it's like you need years of lessons before you do that, right? And then you need a relationship with somebody that's going to like give you their horse or get your own, because most people aren't going to let you do that with their horse. So I think, when you get somebody to upgrade, you should give them a commission. If you're going to, the other thing too, like buying and selling horses sounds like so much fun. And I borrowed a bunch of money and I went to Europe, and I'm like, this is my dream job. Borrowing a bunch of money, going to Europe, trying the best horses I can with that budget, making a great choice, flying back with them, showing them, competing them, and then ultimately selling them. And I did that. Like most things, the reality of it was a lot of driving, looking at these horses. And it was cold, and I would drive for like 4 hours, get out of the car, have to get on like 6 horses that I didn't know, and jump right around, very stressful. Make a good decision, stressful. And then as soon as that horse was going really well, it sold, right? And so ultimately, like the ultimate dream was I just really wanted to ride a really nice horse all the time and not have to sell it. Like that's really what I wanted. So what I do now is I tell my team, like, and they're still young and excited about this, as they should be, like, you're going to get to go try all these lesson horses and tell me which one you think we should get, right? And you'll make a commission when we buy and sell our horses. And guess what? You get to show these horses to prospective buyers, right? Like, at a certain point in your career, like, that's fun, you know? I don't really want to do it anymore. So you know, that is, I mean, compared to a lot of jobs, like, give them, you know, and then give them perks. Like, every little perk you give them locks them in a little bit more, right? Where they get lessons, they could have an investment horse of their own, or their own horse could live there. And then I recently created a 401k for Meg, and so there's a profit sharing component of that. And then there's employee stock ownership plans. So you can give people a piece of the business if you want. So those are retention tools to maybe lock in, because there will come a little team that you can go to war with. Like, I got a good feeling about Josh and Tina. Like, our team is like a little team that you feel like you can go to war with. Like Josh and Tina. I got Meg, Farah, Ranjit, and Dabir. If you have a good little team, like, you wanna figure out how to retain them too. So you got those both things. And then the story of Drake is that I've been following, and I thought there was going to be like some Gen Z in here maybe, so this might go. Who's following like the Drake Kendrick Lamar beef? Just Jenny? Dwight?
I know of it.
Yeah.
I haven't followed it, but I know it's there.
Yeah. What's your take on the Drake Kendrick Lamar beef, Dwight?
I think Drake quit.
Wrong.
He lost because he quit.
Wrong. I think that's wrong.
Oh yeah.
So yeah.
So who's Drake?
So Drake is like a hip hop R&B artist. Probably like the biggest selling. He might be like the biggest selling artist of all time. Like, I think his numbers go toe to toe with like Michael Jackson in terms of like records sold and song. Now it's different because there's like streams, you know, so it's not exactly apples to apples. But I think he's probably the most streamed artist in history, hip hop and R&B artist.
You might recognize his songs if you heard them.
Yeah. And Kendrick Lamar, and I can't really get behind the beef, Dwight, because like Tupac, like it's the same. You guys might remember like Tupac and Biggie fighting each other. Yeah. You don't even remember Tupac and anybody remember Tupac and Biggie? Like, so Tupac got shot, and Biggie made a song called "Who Shot Ya," kind of making fun of him, and that set Tupac off. And then they just made songs back and forth, like dissing each other. And so Kendrick made like the biggest diss song ever against Drake. But it all started because Drake was on a track with J. Cole, and J. Cole said, "Me, Drake, and Kendrick are the three kings of hip hop." And Kendrick took so much offense that they didn't say he was the only king of hip hop. And so I'm like, if like two influential artists say like me, Brian, and like this other guy are the best, like that's not going to trigger like a war with me. You know what I mean? So I can't get behind the reason for it. But he released a song that went absolutely viral and won Grammys for it. That basically is calling Drake a pedophile, and all sorts of other things. And they played him at the Super Bowl. You guys didn't know
That was the guy at the Super Bowl.
Yeah, and the whole song is basically just dissing Drake. And so Drake, to me, was like destroyed. So I'm looking at like, you know, how do you, like, when somebody else, a colleague, whatever it is, comes out to destroy you, right, and kind of succeeds, like wins Grammys, plays at the Super Bowl, just destroying you. How do you bounce back from that? And I was the same thing with like Dwight. I was like, Drake's toast. His career is over. But he did launch a lawsuit. So I think that there is, in certain cases, like it helps when you do have a legal team. But you can't, like my other client, you can't get consumed by it. Like if it's gonna take more than like an hour of your time, and it's just gonna be like all you're doing. But I mean, he's got a big enough team where his legal, you know, he can just be like, legal team, like do something. But then you continue making great music that only you can make, and you continue, all you can really do is just continue doing. So he recently, Dwight, you might not know this, but since then, he put out a new song, some sexy songs for you. It got 56 million streams on Spotify. It's projected to debut at #1. This is since then. He's got a #1. Drake.
Since the Super Bowl?
Since the Super Bowl, he's got a new, check it out. Some sexy songs for you. It's coming out at #1.
See, this is where this is my cynical side about to come out. I know none of you believe that I have that, but
Any press is good press.
How much is the negative press actually driving this? Like it's manufactured, the whole beef and the lawsuit
So was
and
Drake
everything
the
is all
singer?
manufactured.
Yes.
Was Drake the singer at the Super Bowl, or Drake the guy being sung
Drake's
about?
the guy being sung about.
So Drake should go to the singer guy, whoever that was, and say, hey, I'm giving you all this great content. We're doing this
But
thing
that's
together.
what,
You need to
see,
give me
my
50% of.
skeptic,
Yeah,
the skeptic in me
a lot of
thinks
feuds
that-
in music is actually about press.
Yeah.
It's about
Yeah,
Exactly.
You're
attention.
probably right
That's what
on.
I'm saying, is like, how much of it is that they all talk
They're
together?
both
is
run by
this
the
is
same
what we're
label.
gonna do.
They're both on the same.
Yeah.
So there's probably something there.
Because we're talking about,
Yeah.
obviously it's a lot.
Right, exactly.
It's reality TV show manufactured drama.
Mhm.
There was an actual documentary that I was watching once where some of the rappers were having a beef and they had to tell their crew, back off, we're not rolling in there with guns. We have an agreement and we're selling more tapes,
Yeah.
selling more albums.
No, it's smart. It's smart because then everybody else gets all wrapped up.
Because in part, once you make it, what do you sing about?
Right.
No longer in the street, and why am I gonna continue to live in an environment that I've been striving to get out of? So then you have to sing about something, and people say that you're no longer authentic because you're living in Beverly Hills, singing about songs from
the streets.
Right.
the streets. And so they create, even from the street or from the hilltop, they have to create beefs to be able to get some kind of press and invigorate their following.
They think they do. They could
Right.
go about it a whole different way.
They
But
could.
that's,
No, but that's the culture.
yeah, that's the
right,
culture.
culture.
Because the better everybody does,
That's
the
a
better
mindset.
everybody does. And you
Right.
go about it with that attitude of, and that's kind of our attitude is we're in a very, very horse populated area. But I never feel that anybody is our competition at all, because the better everybody does, the better everybody does. So
Right.
if you carve out your niche and you're great and you stand above everybody else, then I don't care what everybody else does. If I can help them, then I want to help them.
Right.
Because the more successful the horse business is, period, the better everybody does. So so I try to go at it with that attitude, but I have people that argue with me very much and say, oh, well, only one person can be #1 on SOS, or what's that called, the Google thing.
SEO.
Yeah,
SEO.
what is it called?
Search engine
Sure,
optimization.
yeah, whatever, search engine optimizing, or only
Right,
one
right.
person can be this, or one person can be, so you have to be better, you have to put somebody down. Why would you let another writing academy that's not super far away from you, and this is where we were looking at starting other academies, in our area. How can it be something we could support if it was close? Because I was looking at seriously buying some different properties to set up some different things, and then it was, well, why would, and it was like my website guy and other people, why would you do that? Because if you're #1 here, then you're competing with yourself, or why would you help this person? Because what if they, and it's just a whole different attitude of the better everybody does, the better everybody does. If I can help everybody be successful, but the cream rises to the top. Let the best be the best, and we're not gonna be everything to everybody, and that's
Right.
okay. I mean, that's,
Have you ever had a, sorry, go ahead.
Then I was gonna say, if one of us succeeds, we all succeed.
So, but have you ever had a team member, protege, come in and learn everything about you and meet all your clients?
Yeah.
And then turn around and compete against you and badmouth you?
Yeah.
You have.
yeah, no, I mean, that's,
Raise your hand if that's happened to you. Kinda. So yeah, this is more the playbook for that scenario, and like bringing Drake back into all that. And you guys are probably right that they both win in that situation. But it did surprise me that, yeah, Drake's got a #1 album coming out right now. And so that's what I'm saying is like NDAs and non-competes. But this is non-disclosure agreement. So you're not gonna, a lot of the way that you do things in your barn are are, kind of proprietary information that they're not allowed to, so it's something. You can make the argument the NDAs and the non-competes and the legal action you take, that's for the weak a little bit. And it's a little bit, again, if it takes more, if you're spending more than an hour of your time and you don't really have the resources and a lawyer to like kind of delegate that and be like, do something, then it's gonna pull your primary energy, which should be kind of in component number 3 of come out with a #1 album next week. You know what I mean? But you're not gonna come out like my other client. She's not gonna come out with a #1 album with the amount of energy she's using fighting, squabbling over that. And then, in some cases you might have retained that person, not that you wanted to, but if there is a person you want to retain, if you have too much turnover and you're not it's really going to hurt the business too.